Hello, welcome to today's video. We're going to have a look at the nutritional hierarchy for fat loss and muscle gain, which is basically a fancy way of saying the order of importance of the various factors that go into whatever your body comp change goal is. We're going to look at fat loss, take fat loss as our example. Just because it's the first one there. Muscle gain, you're just going to be looking at increasing the calories rather than decreasing calories. But let's not get too tied up in the weeds, and we'll get stuck into it. So we're going to start off with this kind of pyramid shape. All right. So it's a 5-step pyramid that we're going to work with. More important at the bottom. And as you go up the pyramid, they become less important. Okay, so the factors you want to focus on are down here. These ones you're going to look at for adherence purposes, and then whatever's at the top you don't really have to worry about at all, but we'll put a little bit in there about it. All right, and then we'll expand on this to show you why I do things the way I do them. So the number one factor for your body comp goal, whether it's losing or gaining weight or maintaining weight, is calorie balance. Okay, that is the big driver of whatever change you're looking to see. Okay, if you're looking for fat loss, you need to be in a calorie deficit, i.e., eating fewer calories than you need. If you're looking for muscle gain, you have to be providing extra fuel and extra resources, so you have to be in a calorie surplus. Now, I said we're going to take fat loss as an example. We're not going to worry about the calories too much, but I'm going to show you a quick way of working them out. Say, for example, you are 80 kilos and you want to lose some weight. You decided that 70 kilos is a reasonable target. Multiply that by 2.2 to get pounds, that's 154. Then you're going to multiply that by 10 or 12. Okay, so multiplying by 10, you get 1540. Multiplying by 12, you get 1850-ish. Okay, so that's your calorie range. So as long as you're hitting those kind of calories, you're going to be in a deficit from your maintenance for 80 kilos, and that'll take you down towards 70. Now, this is a more aggressive cut. This is a slightly more sustainable cut. As long as you're in there somewhere on average per day, consistently, you're going to make progress. Okay, now I don't like taking weight as a measure of progress, but we have to have something to give us a start point. And taking an approximate target weight is the way to do that. Now, you might get to the point where you feel, look, and perform the way you want to at 75 kilos, in which case you just increase your calories slightly until you hit maintenance. There you are. Okay, but like I say, we're not going to get too far into the weeds. We're just looking at a hierarchy. A calorie deficit will drive weight loss, which is weight lost from all sources. So it's lean tissue, it's fat mass, it's water weight, it's stored glycogen, it's all of the other stuff. You want to maximize fat loss if that's your goal. So you want to retain as much lean mass as you can. So protein intake has to be your next consideration. Now, keeping your protein high, relatively speaking, make sure that you have enough protein coming in to maintain your lean mass. You don't lose it. And a lot of, in fact, every study shows that even in a fairly aggressive calorie deficit, if you maintain a high protein intake, you will maintain the vast majority of your lean mass, and especially when you combine that with resistance training. Targets for protein intake, round about 1.5 grams per kilo per day. So if you're aiming for 70 kilos, 70 times 1.5 is 105 grams per day. Break that down over 3 meals and 2 snacks. That works out at about 21 grams per go, but should be pretty easy. 100 grams of chicken, 25 grams, 100 grams of fish or whatever, about 25 grams again. 1 scoop of protein shake, protein bar, all that sort of stuff will come in right around the 20 grams, so it should be fairly easy to hit. That leaves you all the other calories to go into your carbs and fats, okay? Which is what we're going to talk about next. So, carb to fat ratio, okay? This basically is kind of your choice of diet, whether you go keto or a high carb approach, or you go Mediterranean, or whatever. Doesn't really matter. It doesn't have a massive effect on fat loss. You can lose just as much fat and keep it off with a high carb diet as you can with a high fat diet. What this does affect, though, is your ability to stick to whichever plan you have chosen. If you, for example, choose keto but you love carbs, you're not going to last on it long. Therefore, you're not going to stick to it. Therefore, you're going to fall off the wagon and you're going to lose your progress. Choosing a dietary approach that fits with your lifestyle and your preferences is always going to be preferable to one that is too rigid for what you enjoy. Okay, so that plays into the adherence part, which ultimately plays into calorie balance, which ultimately plays into your results. Next one is meal timing. Now, this could be when you eat your meals, it could be how many meals in a day you eat. Again, it doesn't matter how many meals you or snacks you have throughout the day. What matters is that the total calories that you take in hit your target, whatever that may be. So meal timing, whether it's 3 meals per day or 6 meals per day, it doesn't matter. The result is the same. Okay. Now, what again this does is it plays into your adherence. If you're on a old school bodybuilder type diet where you have to eat 6 or 7 times a day, every 2 hours, then if you have work commitments, you have family commitments that mean that you can't stick to the schedule, you're not going to stay on the plan. If you follow an intermittent fasting protocol where you only eat between, say, 12 and 8 p.m., but you get ridiculously hungry at 9, then you're not going to be able to stick to the plan. So setting up your meal timing, your meal frequency to suit your lifestyle, your preferences, and your needs will give you a far greater adherence than you would trying to shoehorn yourself into someone else's idea of an ideal diet. Okay, so these two here are all about progress. These two here are adherence. Okay, so set these numbers up, use these to guide your choices, and make sure you can stick to it. This one up here is supplements. Now you see a lot of supplements guaranteeing you rapid fat loss. They're all garbage. There's not a single one of them that has been proven by research to have a big enough effect that it can outdo anything further down the chain. Okay, so the only supplements I recommend in terms of diet is protein. Okay, usually whey, although you can get casein as well, or vegan plant blend if that is your preference. None of the supplements that are marketed as fat loss supplements work, so don't waste your money on them. They don't have a big effect, if they have an effect at all, and you're far better off using your money and energy on setting up the other stuff to get a good result. Okay, now I'm just going to clear that out of the way because this is the nutritional factors. What we need to do is consider everything else, or a couple of other factors. Okay, so we're going to put 2 steps down below here. Okay, the first is knowledge, because without knowledge, you don't know what your calories are, you don't know what your calorie intakes are or your needs, you don't know the calories in your foods, you don't know how much you're eating, you don't know where your protein's coming from. So you need a decent level, well, not even a decent level of knowledge, a basic level of knowledge to understand calories. Now, that doesn't mean calorie tracking. That can be a very useful tool. It could be keeping a food log, where you monitor your hunger and satiety levels pre and post meal. You monitor your mood, see how what you eat affects those three things. And from that, you can pull out a lot of information to help you make better decisions going forward, to make sure that you can make the quick kind of progress that you want. Okay, but underlying knowledge is environment and habits. Okay, because with the best knowledge in the world and the best setup in the world, if your environment doesn't allow it or your habits take you away from it, you're not going to get anywhere. Okay, so environment, we're thinking about things like what foods you keep in your house. Do you keep a lot of your trigger foods in the house? So if you can open a bag of crisps without crushing the whole lot, or start a pack of Pringles and not stopping once you've popped, you're not going to find it easy to stick to the calorie balance one, which is the underlying nutritional factor for fat loss. If you're constantly around people who bring junk food into your workplace or into your home, then maybe you have to have a conversation, say what you're trying to do, and see if they would be willing to maybe not bring all those foods in, or maybe keep them out of sight from you. Okay, the other option is to replace those foods with other foods which are a little bit lower in calories or higher in nutrients, to make it easier to stay on plan. Okay, you could also think of environment as the routes that you walk to and from places. If you're constantly walking past your favorite bakery, then you're constantly going to have that call to go in there and buy your favorite cinnamon roll, for example. That might not be in line with the goals that you've set for yourself. Okay, habits. We all are habit driven. If you are not paying attention to these can take you away from the kind of track that you want to be on. So that might be something like, if you have a cup of tea in the afternoon, you always have a piece of cake with it. Are you having that cake because you're hungry, or are you having it because you're having a cup of tea and that's what you always do? So have a food log, food tracking, something like that, that allows you to identify some of these habits and replace them with other habits that might be a little bit more beneficial most of the time. You don't have to cut out cake with your cup of tea every time, but you might want to swap it to an apple, something like that, some of the time, just to help you, again, work on the calorie balance side of things. Okay, so there is your nutritional hierarchy, which we've included knowledge and habit and environments to give you the foundation of whatever nutritional plan you want to follow. Okay, hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, as always, send me a message and I'll be happy to do so.